Industrial agriculture has been lying to you for decades. While you're dumping synthetic fertilizers and watching your tomatoes struggle, Amish farmers, using nothing but horse manure and methods from the 1800s, are harvesting 3 times what you'll ever grow. No tractors, no chemicals, no internet research, and somehow they're absolutely destroying modern farming results. The secret isn't what they're adding to their soil. Let's talk about poop, specifically horse poop. Every single day, an Amish workhorse drops about 50 lumberbars of manure. That's nearly 9 tons per year per horse, and most Amish farms have multiple horses. You're out there paying 20 bucks for a bag of fertilizer that'll last maybe a month. Meanwhile, these guys are literally drowning in free gold. But here's what makes horse manure different from other animal waste. Horses have a terrible digestive system. I mean, really inefficient. They barely break down what they eat, which sounds like a problem until you realize what that means for soil. All that undigested organic matter becomes an all-you-can-eat buffet for soil microbes. Cow manure? It's already been processed twice through 4 stomachs. There's less left for the good bacteria in your garden. Now, the Amish aren't just dumping fresh manure on their tomatoes. That would burn everything. They compost it for 3 to 6 months first. This kills weed seeds, destroys pathogens, and concentrates the nutrients into something plants actually crave. The bedding straw mixed with the manure creates this perfect carbon to nitrogen ratio. No awful smell like chicken manure. No burning your nostrils from 50 ft away. And here's the thing most people miss. You can get this stuff for free. Horse owners are desperate to give it away. Seriously. Call any local stable, and they'll probably help you load it themselves. One neighbor of mine thought I was crazy hauling horse manure in my truck. 3 months later, he asked why my peppers looked like they belonged in a magazine. But free fertilizer is only half the equation. What really separates Amish results from yours happens 6 months before planting season even starts. Most people start thinking about their garden in April, maybe March if they're eager. The Amish, they're already done by then. See, while you're still shoveling snow off your driveway, Amish farmers finish their soil prep back in October. That's a 6-month head start before you even buy your first seed packet. Here's what they do. Right after the fall harvest, they spread that aged horse manure we talked about. Then they plant cover crops. Winter rye is the favorite. Sounds boring, I know, but this stuff grows roots up to 3 ft deep. 3 ft. Your rototiller barely scratches 8 in. These roots are breaking up compacted soil layers you didn't even know existed. And the best part? You're inside watching football while this happens. Then winter does something magical. All that freezing and thawing acts like nature's own soil aerator. Clay soil that felt like concrete in September? By March, it crumbles in your hands. No machine required. But wait, there's more. Those cover crops aren't just sitting there looking pretty. They're pulling nitrogen straight from the air and pumping it into the ground. We're talking 100 to 150 lb per acre. That's roughly $200 worth of fertilizer that literally fell from the sky. When spring finally arrives, Amish soil is crawling with earthworms and beneficial fungi. These organisms spent all winter breaking down organic matter into plant food. Your soil? It's been sitting there dead and dormant. The trick is stupid simple. Never leave soil bare over winter. Even a $5 bag of winter wheat works. But good soil means nothing without plants ready to go in it. That's where things get interesting. So you've got perfect soil waiting. Now what? Most gardeners twiddle their thumbs until Mother's Day. The Amish? They've had seedlings growing since February without electricity. Here's their trick. Inside Amish greenhouses, you'll find rows of black-painted water barrels. Ugly? Sure. But these things absorb heat all day like a sunbathing lizard, then release it slowly through the night. Simple physics doing the work of a space heater. And those cold frames you've seen? They angle them at 35 degrees facing south. Basically turns a wooden box with a glass lid into a solar oven for plants. The soil inside stays 15 to 20 degrees warmer than outside. That's enough to germinate lettuce while your lawn is still crunchy with frost. But wait, here's where it gets clever. They bury fresh horse manure about 18 and below their seedling beds. Remember all that manure from earlier? As it decomposes, it generates heat. Natural bottom warming. Your great-grandmother probably did this during the Depression. The result? Transplants ready 6 to 8 weeks before you can even think about direct sowing outdoors. By the time your neighbor buys tomato seedlings at Home Depot, Amish tomato plants already have flowers. Now, you probably don't have a greenhouse or a horse. Fair enough, a south-facing window, a $20 heating mat, and starting 8 weeks before your last frost date gets you 80% of the way there. Not perfect, but way ahead of the guy still waiting for warm soil in May. Growing your own transplants is step one. But what you do after planting them, that's where most gardens completely fall apart. Here is where most gardens turn into a roller coaster nobody asked to ride. You plant 30 lettuce heads on the same Saturday. Feel proud. 3 weeks later, 30 heads ready simultaneously. You eat salad for breakfast, salad for lunch. You're begging neighbors to take lettuce off your hands. Then nothing for weeks. The Amish don't play that game. They plant 10 lettuce seeds, wait 2 weeks, plant 10 more. 2 weeks later, another 10. Sounds tedious, right? But here's what happens. While you're drowning in greens 1 week and starving the next, they're harvesting the exact same amount every single week for months. Same bed, way more food. Let's talk radishes. These little guys mature in about 25 days. Plant a short row every 10 days from April through September, and you'll get 15 separate harvests. 15, from seeds that cost maybe $3 total. Now, the Amish track all of this in handwritten journals. Some families have planting records going back 4 generations. Great-great-grandpa's notes on when to plant fall turnips? Still accurate. You don't need a family heirloom notebook. A calendar app works fine. Just set reminders. Plant beans today. 2 weeks later, plant beans again. The math is almost embarrassing. One 4/8 raised bed using succession planting can outproduce 3 beds planted all at once. Same space, same effort, triple the results. Their market stands always have something fresh. Meanwhile, weekend gardeners have that awkward 2-week gap where the zucchini stopped, but the tomatoes aren't ready yet. But growing more vegetables only matters if you're growing the right combinations together. That's where things get really interesting. Corn, beans, and squash planted together. Sounds like a recipe. It basically is. The Amish borrowed this from Native Americans centuries ago, and they're still using it because it works better than anything modern agriculture invented. Here's the setup. Corn grows tall, beans need something to climb. See where this is going? The bean vines spiral right up the corn stalks. No trellises, no string, no trips to the hardware store. But wait, there's more. Like a late-night infomercial, except this one's actually useful. Those beans aren't just hitching a free ride. They're paying rent. Bean roots grab nitrogen straight from the air and pump it into the soil. Free fertilizer delivered directly to the hungry corn plants growing 6 in a way. And the squash? Those big floppy leaves spread across the ground like a living tarp. Weeds can't get sunlight. Soil stays moist. You water less during those brutal July weeks when your garden usually turns into a desert. 3 plants, 0 fighting, everyone wins. Now let's talk tomatoes and basil, not just a pasta combination. Basil releases compounds that aphids and hornworms absolutely hate. I used to lose half my tomatoes to hornworms. Started planting basil every 2 ft between rows. Problem mostly solved. Then there's marigolds. People think they're just pretty borders. Nope. Their roots release something called alpha-terphenol that kills soil nematodes. These microscopic worms destroy roots from below, where you can't even see the damage happening. One more trick. Plant radishes alongside carrots. Radishes pop up in days, marking where your slow carrots are hiding. Plus, they break the soil crust so delicate carrot seedlings can push through. Smart planting handles a lot, but the right tools? That changes everything. Let's talk about the wheel hoe. This thing looks like something your great-grandfather abandoned in a barn. Wooden handles, a single wheel up front, metal blade underneath. It's also faster than your fancy rototiller. I know, sounds backwards, but here's the reality. An Amish farmer can zip through a 100 FT row in about 10 minutes, slicing weeds just below the soil surface. No bending, no back pain, no trips to the chiropractor that cost more than your entire harvest. Rototillers seem impressive. All that noise and power, very manly, but they're secretly destroying your garden. Every pass creates something called a plow pan. That's a hard, compacted layer about 6 in down where plant roots hit a wall and stop. Your tomatoes can't reach deep water, they suffer. You water more, nobody wins. Then there's the broad fork. 2 handles, 5 or 6 steel tines. You step on it, rock back, and loosen soil 12 in deep without flipping anything over. Why does that matter? Because soil has layers. Beneficial fungi live near the top, different microbes work below. A tiller scrambles everything like a bad omelet. Here's my favorite part. A quality wheel hoe costs maybe 60 bucks, lasts 40 years. My neighbor's tiller needs $100 in gas and maintenance annually. Do that math over a decade. The real secret isn't the tool itself. It's what the tool forces you to do. Hand tools mean you're in the garden weekly. You notice the aphids Tuesday instead of discovering a full infestation Saturday. You catch the yellow leaves early, but tools only matter if your plants actually get water. And Amish watering methods? Completely different game. Here's something that drives me nuts. People standing in their garden at noon, hose in hand, misting leaves like they're watering a houseplant. That water never reaches the roots. It evaporates before it hits the ground. You might as well pour it down the drain. Amish farmers water completely differently. Deep soaks once, maybe twice a week. That's it. Why does this work? Because roots are lazy. They only grow where water is. Sprinkle the surface daily and roots stay shallow, hanging out in the top 2 and like teenagers who won't leave the couch. Hit them with a deep soak once a week, and those roots chase moisture downward. 12 in, 18 in. Now your tomatoes can survive a heat wave without you standing there like a human sprinkler. And the weird part, less frequent watering actually uses less water total. Timing matters too. Amish farmers are out there before 2 o'clock in the morning. Water plants at noon, and you lose 30% to evaporation. Water at night and leaves stay wet, which is basically a welcome mat for fungal diseases. Then there's the finger test. Forget moisture meters and fancy gadgets. Stick your finger 3 in into the soil. Dry? Water. Still moist? Walk away. My grandfather used this method for 60 years. Never owned a single battery-powered anything. Heavy straw mulch changes everything. 4 in of straw keeps soil so moist that established plants might need watering only during actual drought. The Amish aren't working harder, they're working smarter. But getting water to your plants is only half the battle. Keeping bugs from destroying them? That's where things get interesting. Ladybugs are the most overrated pest control method in gardening. Not because they don't work, because everyone releases them wrong. Most people dump ladybugs in their garden at 2 in the afternoon, then wonder why they all flew to the neighbor's yard within an hour. Amish farmers release them at dusk. The bugs settle in for the night, start eating aphids by morning, and actually stick around. But ladybugs are just the beginning. The real trick is making your garden attractive to insects that murder other insects. Sounds brutal, right? It is. Parasitic wasps lay their eggs inside caterpillars. The larvae eat the caterpillar from the inside out. Nature's horror movie, but your tomatoes survive. These wasps love dill and fennel. Plant both, and you've basically hired a tiny assassin army that works for free. Then there's the old-fashioned approach. Every evening, my uncle walks his tomato rows with a bucket of soapy water. Hornworms go in. They don't come out. 5 minutes a day prevents thousands of dollars in damage. No chemicals required. Crop rotation confuses pests too. Cucumber beetles spend winter underground, planning their spring attack. They emerge hungry, ready to destroy, except you planted beans there instead. Surprise. And here's something most gardeners refuse to accept. The Amish expect 10 to 15% pest damage. They budget for it mentally. Chasing perfection means reaching for poison. A few holes in your cabbage leaves? That's the price of clean food. Now, controlling pests keeps plants alive. But knowing exactly when to harvest? That's what doubles your actual yield. Picking zucchini changes everything. And most people get it completely wrong. Here's the thing. A 6 in zucchini tastes better than a 12 in baseball bat. But that's not even the point. Small zucchini tell the plant one critical message. Keep producing. Giant zucchini? They signal mission accomplished. Plant stops working, you lose. Same goes for beans. Pick them every 2 days and they'll keep flowering for 8 weeks straight. Leave a few pods to mature on the vine. The entire plant shuts down within 10 days. It thinks its job is done. My neighbor once bragged about his monster zucchini. Thing looked like a torpedo. I didn't have the heart to tell him that one vegetable probably cost him 20 more. Now here's something most gardeners never consider. Time of day matters. Amish farmers harvest at dawn. Vegetables picked while still cool from the night air last 2 to 3 days longer than afternoon picked produce. The cells are tighter, less water loss, better flavor. And lettuce? Stop pulling the whole plant. Cut leaves about an inch above the soil. That single plant will regrow 3, sometimes 4 times. 1 planting, 4 harvests. That's not gardening advice, that's free money. Tomatoes offer another trick. Pick them at breaker stage, right when they're just showing color. They'll ripen perfectly on your counter. Meanwhile, the plant redirects all that energy toward the remaining fruit instead of babysitting one tomato that's already finished. Daily harvesting during peak season isn't optional. One missed day cascades into overripe produce everywhere. But knowing when to harvest only matters if you're actually growing year-round. That requires understanding something most gardeners completely ignore. The Amish don't follow frost dates like gospel. They cheat the calendar. Most gardeners see their last frost date and wait patiently, maybe add a week just to be safe. Amish farmers, they're already 2 weeks ahead. Plants in the ground growing while everyone else stares at seed packets. Here's how they pull it off. Floating row covers. These lightweight fabric sheets trap just enough warmth to push spring planting 3 weeks earlier than your neighbor thinks possible. Cost about 15 bucks. Return on investment? Priceless smugness at the farmer's market. But the real trick is thinking in seasons, not single crops. They divide everything into cool season and warm season. And here's what separates them from weekend gardeners. 0 downtime between harvests. The same afternoon they yank out spent bean plants, fall broccoli seedlings go into that exact spot. Still warm, still moist, no wasted days. One bed, 3 completely different crops. Spring peas, summer beans, fall spinach. Most people get 1 harvest from that same space. The Amish get 3, and they work backward. Sounds strange, right? They count days to maturity from the first expected frost, not from today. That tells them exactly when to plant fall crops without gambling. My grandfather called this making the ground pay rent. Every empty bed was money sleeping. One Pennsylvania Amish farm documented 127 active growing days. Their official frost-free season? Only 85 days. They manufactured 42 extra growing days out of thin air. That's not luck. That's planning that borders on obsession. Everything you just learned means nothing if you don't actually start. So here's the truth. If this story changed how you look at the soil in your garden, please subscribe and like the channel. We are excavating the history that they have tried to bury. Plant the future. The next treasure will soon be revealed.